This was the hub of the United States-led war against Al-Qaeda and the Taliban for nearly 2 decades. The American troops left Afghanistan's Bagram airfield, the largest US military airbase in the country, after nearly 20 years.
All right, brakes. Let's get off the air. Go ahead and get through.
And we are cleared to cross?
We are cleared to cross. Clear.
What they left behind are these: some small weapons, hundreds of armored automobiles, thousands of civilian vehicles, and tens of thousands of food supplies. It is reported that the United States forces slipped away in the night, without notifying the base's new Afghan commander. And before they took off, they shut off the electricity of the airbase. Leaving it in complete darkness. But that's not the only thing that is left shrouded in the dark.
They will disrespect them, they will use them, abuse them, or molest them.
If Taliban come, I have to wear a scarf. If they come back to Afghanistan, so we have lost all of these rights to go out.
With the Taliban gaining control of key Afghan territories, the women in Afghanistan are staring at an uncertain future yet again. Let's look at what happened in the early 1990s. The Taliban emerged in northern Pakistan following the withdrawal of Soviet troops from Afghanistan. By 1998, the extremist Islamist group was in control of almost 90% of Afghanistan. The group gained notoriety for its strict interpretation of Sharia law. Women were the worst victims, forced to wear the all-covering burqa, banned from studying and working, suppressed in every way imaginable. Barbaric punishments like flogging, amputations, and public executions were the norm. The atrocities should never be forgotten. "20 years later, the Taliban claims it has changed its view on women and female education. But that's hard to believe. Even in recent years, we have seen horrifying incidents of the group's misogyny and violence against women. And with foreign troops leaving Afghanistan, history may repeat itself. According to reports, the Taliban have issued new laws and regulations in recently captured districts in Afghanistan's northeastern province of Takhar. Among other diktats, women has been ordered to not leave their home without a male relative, and men are being forced to grow their beards.
The peace negotiations or the peace talks, the talks that happened between the United States and the Taliban were tragically flawed. and really did an injustice to the people of Afghanistan, to what they have been partnering with the Americans to build in the past 20 years, and to the future for Afghan women in light of these talks that have really emboldened the Taliban. It may be a bit uncertain, but I hear a lot of positivity, a lot of optimism in the women who are confirming that they are there for the long haul, that they will not give up their rights, and they've gained too much to let go.
Acclaimed author Nadia Hashimi, a U.S. citizen of Afghan origin, recalls the dark age of the Taliban and tells us how it has impacted her writing.
At the time the Taliban were taking control in Afghanistan, I was heading off to college. And so every door was sort of open. I could pursue an education that I wanted. I could kind of set my sights pretty high and decide what I wanted to be in this life and what I wanted to take out of this world. And at the same time, it was dramatic that all the doors to education were being closed for girls in Afghanistan. So that's something that I could not ignore, that stayed with me and really informed my priorities. And so when I sat down to write, The Pearl That Broke Its Shell, I really wanted to talk about how unfair it was, the misogyny that had been really festering by the Taliban control, all the challenges that women were facing. But I will say that in wanting to talk about the challenges that girls and women were facing in Afghanistan, what ended up happening was that I ended up with a story that celebrated the grit, the resilience, and the strength and the endurance of Afghan women.
She hopes that Afghan women will continue to fight for their freedom, no matter the odds. This is a women-run cafe in Kabul. Female customers who enjoy their time here say their freedom will be snatched away soon.
I'm not feeling good because if they come back to Afghanistan, so we have lost all of these rights to go out or even go out of home.
I don't like scarf, but I can
She has to wear a scarf.
If Taliban come, I have to wear a scarf, and it's awful for me.
Just next door to the cafe is a women-run salon. As you can see, a woman wearing shorts is getting her eyeliner done. Something unimaginable during the Taliban era. Businesses like these could be the first to be banned under a stronger Taliban regime.
There is absolutely a fear, and I've spoken with the activists as well. I've spoken with one who said that every time a motorcycle rumbles past her home, she wonders if this is her time because of the targeting that's been happening specifically for females who are more present in the public sphere, who are standing up, who are speaking out. The fear is there. The fear is legitimate. My heart breaks for them.
The sentiments are the same in other corners of the nation as well. Meet Mahbooba Siraj, a women rights activist. She has been working towards rehabilitating women who have escaped forced marriages, rape, and beatings.
With the Taliban in power, will this just get worse?
I think it's definitely going to get worse.
Their worst fear is that they will disrespect them, they will use them, abuse them, or molest them, or whatever, and also they will kill them. And then there is one of them that is afraid that her two children will be taken by their father, because their father is a Taliban.
Another human rights activist, Fatima, using a fake name to protect her safety, says she fears for the lives of her young children after she received messages on her phone from the Taliban.
I feel extremely abandoned. I'm in danger. My kids are in danger. They have already targeted my daughter once. I know they won't let us live.
The fear is real. These Afghan girls are learning Taekwondo as a survival skill. But can this or any other form of self-defense save them from the Taliban's war on women?
I'm very afraid. Whenever I leave my house, I'm scared because we don't know if we will come back alive.
My cousin and uncle died in an explosion. Almost everyone here has experienced death.
The Taliban had banned various sports, even for men, in the early years of their repressive rule, as they believed it kept them away from prayers. Kabul's Ghazi Sports Stadium was famous not for hosting sporting events, but for punishments carried out by the Taliban. In 1999, a mother of 7 children was executed in front of 30,000 spectators in Kabul's Ghazi Sports Stadium for allegedly murdering her husband. She was imprisoned for 3 years and extensively tortured before the execution. Yet she refused to plead her innocence in a bid to protect her daughter, who was reportedly the actual culprit. However, with time, the Taliban became more tolerant of cricket. When there is no fighting, cricket matches attract hundreds of spectators from Taliban-controlled villages. But women were prohibited not just from participating, but also from coming to see these games. But once the Taliban was ousted in 2001, it brought a new ray of hope for women. Afghanistan sent female athletes for the first time in its history to the 2004 Olympics in Athens. In 2012, Afghanistan's first female boxer, Sadaf Rahimi, was given a wild card to compete in the Olympic Games in London. Though it was disbanded in 2014. The Afghanistan national women's cricket team represented the country in a few international matches. It has a professional women's football team. Nadia Nadim, a refugee girl from Afghanistan, is Europe's top footballer. Fleeing the grip of Taliban-oppressed Afghanistan gave her the chance to become a football superstar.
We have a normal life, normal childhood, but then the war side, everything was a bit chaos. Yeah, you know, like my father was killed, my uncles, like, you know, so I also know that part of it. So it's kind of like a contrast. One part was nice and the other part was like totally chaos. But I don't think so much about it. I think that's just life. Sometimes stuff happens and you can't really control everything. It's not in your hands. Afghanistan, girls are not supposed to do so much stuff. You know, you're not supposed to go to like do sports, don't wear shorts because blah, blah, blah. But I think you can use sports to change point of views.
Even for the women who are still in Afghanistan, the last 2 decades have presented opportunities to pursue their love of sports. Kimia Yusufi and Shah Mahmoud Nurzahi are among the 5 Afghan athletes who will be competing in the upcoming Tokyo Olympic Games.
سلام من کیمیا یوسفی هستم
و من شامود نورزایی.
We are the Afghan athletes who are going to attend the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games in Japan.
It will be the second Olympics after the 2016 Rio Games for the 25-year-old sprinter Yusufi, who is also the only female athlete to take part in both games representing Afghanistan. For Yusufi, an Afghan refugee born in Iran, the road to the grand stage at the Olympics was not an easy one. Her family fled their home country during the Taliban reign, growing up in a foreign land Yusufi had to work extremely hard.
و مطمئنم که یه اتفاق یک روز خواهد افتاد.
I have always exercised hard with the support of my family. Unlike other girls, I have also ignored all other pastimes and hobbies such as going out with friends or spending time with family. I spent all my time just practicing.
Yusufi has fears that once the Taliban is back in power, her country will be pushed back to the dark ages once again.
نگرانیم در پروسه صلح
My concern is about the peace process, especially about what would happen to girls and their sports if the government makes peace with the Taliban. At the moment, my biggest worry is about how much freedom female athletes would be allowed to have in society.
در حال حاضر بزرگترین نگرانیم است که ورزش دخترها چطور میشه.
Afghanistan is considered to be among the most dangerous countries for women, and the situation is only going to worsen.
Dear lost treasures, I feel deeply saddened to be here today. We are living the darkest moment of our time, helplessly watching the daily loss of life. Journalists, writers, activists, human rights defenders, mothers, fathers, children. Stories are denied by the same people who came here to fight terrorism and claimed they would save Afghan women.
This is a message from 33-year-old Afghan photographer Rada Akbar. Recently, her art exhibition was forced online after repeated threats from the Taliban. The reason? The theme of her exhibition, Abar Zanan, which translates into Super Women in English.
These days are very hard. It's I feel that I'm very close to death these days. That is how I feel. Every day, every day feels like it's the last day. And it's not just me. Everyone that I know is going through the same. And we don't deserve this.
Akbar has organized a series of exhibitions celebrating International Women's Day at Kabul's former royal palaces. Last year, she used mannequins to portray exceptional figures, including a filmmaker and a footballer. She also portrayed Rokshana, a woman stoned to death by the Taliban for fleeing a forced marriage. It's enough to provoke Taliban extremists.
We are the minority who are fighting, who are, raising our voices. And by killing some of us, they will, force the rest of us to be silent. And they're trying to silence everyone. And that is what they want. That is what they have been doing when they were in power and what they are doing in the areas under their control.
But women refuse to be cowed into silence. In a significant development, women in Ghor have taken up arms to defend their motherland against Taliban terrorists. Dozens of Ghor women took up arms to pledge their support to the Republic and the Afghan National Defense and Security Forces against Taliban resurgence. This is, however, not the first time that women of Ghor have shown resilience against the Taliban. In August 2020, a teenage girl, Kamar Gul, bravely gunned down 2 Taliban terrorists.
We were sleeping when someone knocked on the door. My mother asked, "Who was it?" The person said, "We are Mujahideen." My mother did not open the door. They broke down the door. They took my mother and father out of the house and shot them dead right before my eyes. There was nothing I could do. Then I grabbed my father's gun. I killed 2 of them and wounded another. With my brother's help, we fought with them until other people arrived and the militants ran away.
It is interesting to note that women officially gained some sort of equality under the 1964 Constitution. However, these rights were snatched away from them in the 1990s when the Taliban took over the country. There were no civil liberties left for women. The Revolutionary Association of the Women of Afghanistan, or RAWA, is perhaps the oldest women's rights advocacy organization operating in Afghanistan. It was founded in 1977 by an Afghan college student named Mina Keshwar Kamal. In 1987, Mina and 2 supporters were assassinated. But the work of the organization continues. The position of women started to gradually improve after the Taliban regime was toppled in late 2001.
A new government under Hamid Karzai was formed by the United Nations, which includes women like in pre-1990s Afghanistan.
Today, a large number of Afghan women serve as members of parliament. Under the new constitution of 2004, 27% of the 250 seats in the House of the People are reserved for women.
The presence of women in government is vital because these are the people who are helping to establish laws, to protect the existing laws, to make sure that the laws are being carried out judiciously and in the spirit with which they were designed. So these women are important because they are seen, they are visible, they are public, they are campaigning, they're asking for votes. You know, these are not women who are just nominated into power, but rather these are women who have to show up and when they're asking to be a representative, they're also asking for people to believe in them.
Another milestone was achieved in 2009 when the elimination of violence against women was signed into law. Women have come a long way in this country.
Agriculture is the backbone of the rural economy, and women make up nearly 50% of the agricultural workforce. Over 4,000 women serve in Afghan security forces. Due to religious and cultural norms, Afghan women rarely visit male doctors, and women have been making strides as doctors, nurses, and midwives. They have been risking their lives to play music. Pursue arts, become journalists, and follow their passions. What will happen to these women if the Taliban returns to power?
You know, and I wonder, you know, to what extent do we demand this grit and this resilience of them? And that's why I think it's really important that the world continues to pay attention to the plight of Afghan women, to not turn their backs and to not prematurely sell the country out to the Taliban, who are really a disconnected group of extremists who are looking to take the country over by violence, but don't have the ability to build anything, to rule anything, to govern effectively. So, you know, again, this is where we're really paying attention to the plight of women, is what will help the country move towards an enduring peace.
There are no easy solutions. The world needs to stand with the women of Afghanistan.